Welcome back to our business planning series. Today, we're going to be talking about personnel. So, who's doing what? That's basically what we're talking about today.
Welcome back to The Financial Dad, the show where we ask our real dad, a certified financial planner, everything you need to know about starting a business. If you never learned it at school or at home, don't worry, because now you've got a financial dad too.
So, Dad, I want to start off by asking you who are the types of people that we're going to need to, what are the types of positions that we're going to need to think about filling for a Brewzone coffee shop?
Well, first of all, think of it in terms of the processes we talked about in the process or operations video before. People are going to enter the space. And by the way, I'm not even talking about marketing yet, right? I'm just going to talk about the operations piece. People are going to enter the space. They're going to try to figure out what they want. They're going to order what they want. We're going to have to make that for them or provide that for them. And then they're going to go sit down and eat it, drink it, do whatever they're going to do. And then they're going to leave the restaurant. Now, when they leave the restaurant, for example, they may leave stuff behind at a table. So all of those aspects of the operating business need somebody to take care of them. We need somebody that can operate a cashier device, a point of sale system, it's called today. It's usually electronic at this point, of course, but do that, take the cash or take the credit card, let them know that they're done, put in the order. Then you need somebody to fulfill that order. Right. So one person, two persons, that depends on how many orders you anticipate getting in what time period. And this is where having some experience comes in. Someone who has done this before, worked in some kind of a coffee shop, where there's a lot of morning traffic, let's say, to get coffee and or a bagel or things like that. That person would know, okay, we need about this many people. If we have good foot traffic, we're going to need about this many people to make sure we're servicing at the levels that we want to be servicing. And that gets back also to our marketing plan. What do we say about ourselves in terms of our service quality? If we've promised the worst service on earth, we can have one person doing it all and people can be waiting, until they decide to leave and not wait any longer. But if we've promised really good service, then we're going to want enough bodies there to make sure that we can produce that product for them and get it out to them very quickly to meet that expectation. So how many people to operate all of that? Do we need somebody to help keep the place clean up after people, wipe down tables? Will we need a separate employee for that? Or will there be breaks in the flow of business enough to allow one of the people behind the counter to periodically go out, clean up, and do all of that? And, bear in mind, what you don't want is to be so busy that 8 of your 12 tables are a mess because everybody's working back behind the counter. So unfortunately, personnel, at least to start up, it's a little better to be overstaffed than understaffed. You'd rather lose a little money than get a reputation for being uncleanly or slow service or, one of those negative kinds of things. Okay. Now, there was marketing work to be done. Who does that marketing work? Is that the owner, or does the owner hire somebody to do that marketing work, social media posts, etc.? Who does the financial work? Who does the ordering of supplies work? Small businesses, this is going to be the owner. The owner is going to be the manager. The owner is going to be on site virtually all the time that they're open. And maybe at some point they'll have an employee that they have enough regard for and trust in to allow that person to sort of serve as the manager, to give them a little time away. This is how you have to think through the personnel part of it. Do we need a dishwasher? Depending upon what we're doing about dishes and saucers and things like that, which we talked about in one of the other videos also. So that's how you start to figure out personnel. You look at the work that's going to get done and who's going to do it. And then what would be the qualifications of that person to do it, if any, the experience or what have you. What's the ideal experience for a person to be able to do this job? What's the basic experience that you think the person would need to be able to do a certain job? And so then you can start thinking about hiring. You've built them into a budget for our cash flow analysis, as we talked about in our financial operations piece. Then you're ready to try to look into hiring people and getting those actual bodies on board.
And how would you say, how is a good way to go about making sure that the people you hire are in line with your vision for what you want this business to be?
Well, that's a great question. That's a question that I think a lot of people don't actually ask themselves because they think, oh, okay, so I need a cashier. I need somebody who's worked a cash register before. No, you can teach somebody how to work a point of sale system, but you may not be able to teach a person how to be giving off the type of energy that you want an employee who deals directly with the public. So let's go back to the strategic plan. What is our unique sales proposition? What's our marketing concept? What are we trying to position ourselves as here? And what is it we're trying to present to the public? What is the experience we're trying to give them? Then you have to say, okay, what kinds of people can provide that experience? So you mentioned earlier, I think we were offline.
Warm,
Yeah, be friendly, high
inviting.
energy. That might be for Brewzone. If I'm trying to create a 5-star restaurant, I may want people who are more reserved, professional, almost emotionally distant or something. I don't know how to describe it, but but
austere.
Yeah, or at least people who can act like that. Who can create that impression on other people. But so you got to look at your question about vision is right on. What is your vision for the experience that people are going to have, the interactions they're going to have with your employees? And you need to be looking for people whose characteristics fit that. And generally, you can train them for most of the other stuff they're going to do. But if you can't train them, if you need experienced people too, then you need both. You need people who have the right kind of energy, vibe, way of presenting themselves to the public that fits what you envision for the company, as well as having whatever that other skill set and experience are that you feel are critical to the role. This is an area, I think it's called industrial psychology. And every company has a different philosophy and approach, to how to do this. The old school way was you'd put out literally an ad in a newspaper at that time saying you need someone with these skills. And it rarely would mention like personal characteristics at all. It was usually, person can type 55 words a minute. Today, companies have really spent a lot of time and money on trying to hire well, because it's expensive to hire and train. Okay. So you're really trying to do a good job of hiring and finding people that fit this mold that you had, this vision, as you said, in your head. And so having a philosophy about it and coming up with a way to interview in such a way that uncovers those people will be critical to the employment, the personnel part of your success. There are people who do consulting in this area who literally could walk you through a questionnaire and help you create a questionnaire that would align all of this and have you asking the right questions to get where you're trying to go, at the same time as not breaking any laws or doing anything discriminatory. Something you also have to be thinking about is employment law, which is typically a state by state thing, even though some of it's federal. And what are you allowed to ask people? What are you not allowed to ask people? And for example, I think it's morally wrong, but I think in a lot of states, it's also discriminatory or illegal to ask a woman if she plans to have children. You just can't ask that question. It's wrong to ask, but some people would still ask, right? So you need to know what you can and cannot ask in the hiring process. That's an important thing to look into. Eventually, you're going to need an employee manual that has policies, things like, hey, if I miss a day, what happens? Or if I'm late, what happens? Do I get any paid time off or am I just hourly? So, all of those things ultimately come under personnel, but it is one of the most critical areas because virtually every customer in a Brewzone interacts with those people. So they are really critical to your success. Their ability to, bring forth your vision of the experience of the customer is critical to your success and the achievement of your vision for your business. Going back to our freelance person example, the freelancer might be looking for somebody to do administrative work in the background or social media marketing or some degree of responding to emails, things like that, but is not going to get on Zoom calls, is not going to meet the public or do those kinds of things. So that person doesn't necessarily need to have the personality characteristics that you would be looking for a Brewzone counter worker. So that, that's where knowing what you're really looking for this person to do, who they're going to interact with and how much and in what ways really becomes critical to getting good hires and finding the right people, good fits for what you're trying to do.
Right. And I think one thing we didn't even touch on is, liability insurance or any kind of insurance that you might even be offering to your personnel or your staff if you are a large enough company. That's like so far down the line though, so we won't go too deep into that. And go watch
Yeah.
our other videos on, insurance and company benefits because we go way deeper into it there. But there's a lot. I think this is really revealing to many people because they don't think about all of these moving pieces. I think this is fantastic information.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I love what I've done for 30 years or more at this point. And while it is at times very challenging, it's also extremely rewarding, especially when you find employees who you just feel are like family, where you take care of them, they take care of you. So many people have horrible bosses. They hate their boss. Personally, I'd like to have a legacy where people go, man, he was just the best guy to work for.
That's so sweet.
So, yeah, I'm not achieving it, but I really like that.
That's just his humor, everyone. Actually, Dad, before we hop off, I do remember interviewing you years ago, and I said, give me some tips for business, and you said like care about your people and put that first, put those people first. So I do know this is something you really do value.
Well, and that came largely from our business partner who has built an immense business down here in the Southeast of the United States. He is one of the finest entrepreneurs I know. His entire mantra to me when I started up my company was find great people and just let them do what they do. Don't micromanage them. Step back, let them do what they're capable of doing. Let them grow, let them learn, let them be what they're going to be. And that's been a wonderful philosophy for me. It fits my own way of thinking and operating. I'm too lazy to be a micromanager. So I don't have to micromanage people when they're doing a great job and they're experienced. Quite frankly, when you have great people doing their jobs, it makes your job far easier. Think of it this way. Most of us think the pyramid is like this. The boss is up here, and then there are levels of workers and a whole bunch of people down at the bottom. A different way of thinking of management is the owner is the guy at the bottom of a pyramid that's upside down on its point, and he or she is supporting all of those people that effectively funnel into the owner slash president slash CEO of the company, because the CEO generally has the most knowledge of all the parts of the business and knows what the vision is, knows what we're trying to accomplish, and can always calculate with any question you would give a CEO. That CEO should be able to calculate in his or her mind, okay, to answer this question, I have to consider this that's going on over here, and that's happening over there, and that there. And I can answer the question with all of that taken into account. I can answer that question, and I can help support that employee in what they're trying to do. So supporting those people philosophically as a way of, mentally envisioning what you do as a CEO, to me, is also a much better way to operate because they feel supported. They feel it from you that you're there to help them do their jobs and, answer questions or help them learn about something they didn't know about or whatever it might be. That's a management philosophy thing, but it's worked very well for me.
This has been really beautiful to learn about. Awesome to hear your perspective on this. I know that Hallie and I are sitting here in the background, just kind of soaking it all in because it's been amazing.
We're literally we've just been sitting here cheesing throughout the last 2 minutes. I feel like that is just so wholesome.
It's amazing to see the two of you speechless for so long.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. So good. Well, thank you again, Dad, for sharing all this information. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, be sure to subscribe, like, comment. Let us keep making these videos for you. Tell us what you want to learn about. We'll ask our dad. See you later.